So things are looking fine. So this one is working fine. Trade token is also working fine. We can select. This is the top exchange token. This is the network. You can click and you can select, double click, and it will select and update all the information. Here we have the token pair. Now we have to work on the profile, pricing, and trading. So we have a lot of work to do. Let's start with the profile first because it's going to be quite similar with the network one as well. So come back here in the profile, and here we have to receive this particular prop. So get into the profile and we have to receive the prop. Now let me make it side by side so we can see what exactly we are working on. Let's drag it here on the right hand side, and I can come back here. Now we have to get these two as well. So let's simply copy and we have to send it as a prop, and that's what we can simply receive in the profile. So let's receive this notify error and notify success. Copy, and that's what we can simply paste here. We got this three props. Now come back here in the profile. Let's import the use state, use effect. Now we have to do the internal import, and in that we have to simply import the footer component. So it's going to be from the utils, and now we have to import the utils functionality because we're going to create a function which allow us to sort the address of the user. So we haven't created that function, but we'll create soon. So just give this demo import. Looks fine. Now this is good. Come back here. Now we have to create a couple of state variables. So this one is the first one, call, let's say, user detail. It's going to be an object. Now we have to take another use effect, and here we have to get the information. So if the user already provided all the details about his profile and save in the local storage, so we have to get it that so we can display that you are already provided the information. So let's take this user, and we have to get the information from the local storage. So this is the same thing we have to do. We'll say local storage get item, and this is the key pair we have provided, user profile. So this will give us the data from the local storage, and then we can simply set that to our state variable. Pretty simple. And we have to give this empty array, so whenever the page reload, it's going to call this particular hook. Looks good. This is fine. Now what I'm going to do is we can start working on the JSX, and it will have a class called tech web fn dash container. There it is. Let's take a div. It will have a class called tech web dash fn dash page. Inside that, we'll take a div. It will have a class called tech fn dash user profile dash page. Inside that, we'll take a div. It will have a class called tech web dash fn dash page title, and it will have a, let's take this h2, and it will have a class called title. It will say user profile. There it is, looking fine. We'll come out of the div. It will take a div. It will have a class called container small. Inside that, we'll take a div. It will have a class called tech web dash fn dash user profile. Inside that we can simply take a div. It will have a class called user dash dash profile. There it is. Then we can take a div. It will have a class called user dash avatar. Inside that, we'll take an image, and we can display the user image. So we'll say dash user details. If there is an image, then display the image. Otherwise, we can display the default image, which is the logo crypto.png. There it is. Now we can come back here. We'll take a div. It will have a class called user dash details. Inside the div, we'll take a ul, and it will have an li. Inside the li, we have to take a div, and it will have all the information. So we'll take this item. Inside that, we can take this h4. It will have a class called subtitle. This will call name, and we can come here. We'll take this h3. It will have a class h3, and we can call it the user detail name. If we have the name, we can display. Otherwise, we can say update. So this is the first items. Now what we're going to do is simply replicate this one and paste here, and we have to change the name to user name, and here we have to change the data to user name. There it is. Looks fine. Copy, paste here, and change this to address. And here we can display the wallet address. Close that one. And now we can come back here. We'll take this anchor. It will have an on-click function. And we'll say set active component. In that we can say setting. So in this setting component will allow user to upload all the information. In the profile component, we are just displaying all his information. So we'll say setting. Now it will have a class called user dash edit fn dash dash icon dash button. Now we can display the image tag and we can display the setting icon. So we'll have this light icon slash light dash 4. That's the one. We can click and we can go to the setting component. Now we can come here. We'll take a div. It will have a class called user dash dash panel. Inside that we can take a div. It will have a class called plan dash left. In that we'll take a h4. It will have a class called subtitle. We'll say your key. There it is. Now we can display the paragraph and it will have a class called info. In that we can take a span. It will have a call private key and we can display the private key of the user, and this data is only visible to user. Okay, we'll say private key. If we don't have, we can say update. Let's give this span. Looks fine. Now we can come back here and we can display the description of the user. We will take a div. It will have a class called user dash dash interest, user interest. Inside the div we'll take this h4 and we'll take a class called title. We'll say your biography and we can come here. We'll take a paragraph and we can display the user biography, the detail he provided about himself. We'll say biography. If it doesn't have, we can say update. So this is the entire profile component. Hope it makes sense to all of you guys. Right now we are displaying all the information about the profile page. If the user have updated, we can click and we can go back to the simply setting component where user can simply upload all the information. So right now we don't have anything because we haven't worked on that, but this looks fine. Looks good. Click, we can go to the setting page. Now we have to work on the setting page. So simply close this one. We can get into the setting page. So click here and here we have the setting. So what we can do, simply copy this one and copy the entire one, copy this too and send this as a prop and send the XCS as well. In case in future if you want to store this information in the backend, we can do that. So simply take it as a prop. So we'll take this notify error. Let's take the success and we can take the XCS as well. Copy, double check the spelling. Looks fine, no problem in that. Now things are looking good. And this particular component is going to be quite similar to the upload one, the upload network one. So we can come back here and we can go to this add network. It's going to be quite similar. So we're going to receive all of this. So simply copy this one. And that's what we can simply paste here. We got the drop zone. Now we're going to take all of this. So like we need this portion. So simply grab, close this one, close this one, close this one, close this one. We need this as well. We need the drop zone, these hooks and all of these things we need. So simply remove this one. And now we can simply select all of this portion till here, the display image, copy, and that's what we can simply receive here. So receive, and now we have to do the modification in the variable type. So this is the network. So first thing we have to change the name and the data we want to take in. So looks good. Now we can come back here and we are receiving all of this. Let's get into the profile. And from here we have to get this particular function as well because we need still user information, and that's what we can simply call here on top. So if the data is already available about the user, so that's what we can display in the setting component as well. So that's what we are getting. Now we have to change this to name. This is going to be the user name. This will be the, remove this, we don't need this. This one is the wallet address and private key. We're going to have this one. We're going to have the image and we're going to have the biography as well. So user can explain about himself. So that's the one we have. Now we can simply rename this. So we can call this to user. This will be the set user. And same thing we have to provide here, and we have to provide this set user. So this looks good. Now we have to do the changes here as well. So in this one, so this one going to be the name, this will be the user name, the wallet, and the private key is going to be there, image is going to be there. Now we have to attach the biography. Looks good. Copy, and that's what we have to do here as well. Change this one. And what else we need to change? This looks fine. So we have the name, we have this RPC URL. Actually we don't need this RPC URL, so we can remove that. Select this one, remove this one, and remove here from as well. Looks good. This looks good, no problem. So far things looks good. Let's check for the biography as well. So this is fine. We have this notification error message if the user not provide the detail. Looks good. Now, and this looks good, and this is the exact thing we're going to have here as well, because user need to update. So this portion we're not going to have. Remove this one, remove this portion. We're going to have this two only, because we have to store the user profile in the local storage. So first thing we have to do is okay, simply remove this one. We'll take this local storage set item, and we're going to simply call this user profile, and in that we're going to simply pass the user, and here we're going to change this profile updated successfully. And that's the only thing we have to do here in this. Let's change the function name. So it's, instead of calling this save network, we can say save user. So this is the function we have updated. This is going to be the same. There's no changes you need to do here, because we have to upload the image of the user, and here we have to do the changes. So this one is the user, and this one is the set user. Looks good, no problem. This is the same. This one, this is the drop zone, we're going to have the same, and this was fine. Looks good. Now we can come back here at the add network, and we need the JSX as well. So we need all of this JSX. So simply copy, and that's what we can simply paste here. Paste here. Now we have to close the div. So close this one, close this one. There it is. We have all of this. Now come back here and reload the page. Go to the profile. Click here. Okay, something went wrong. Why this particular setting component is not displaying? So things are looking good. Now I can click on profile, click on this, but it's not opening. So come back here, and now I have to check the spelling. So come back, close this one. This is the setting I have. This is fine, no problem in that. Like fan page is there, tech fan user setting page. Okay, no problem in that. This is the tech fan page title. That's good. This is the title we have, and we can simply change this particular text, and let's call this settings. If I reload, if I try to click on this, like come back here in the index, and I can see that this is what we have, setting setting. This is fine, no problem in that. Let's go to the where we can go. We can go to the sidebar, and we can check here as well. So like we don't have anything, the setting component here, so there is no need to check here. Simply come back here in the setting, go back here in the this one is good. Come back to the profile, because there we have a button for opening the setting component. So let's come here. Okay, there is a mistake. It's not M, it's N. So make sure to check this spelling and save it, and now it will work fine. So reload the page, come back here and click here, and there it is. At least we got something, means our component is try to rendering. So this is the fix we have to do. Okay, I know what's the problem. We have to simply provide this user detail variable as an object. So come here in the setting, and I can simply, this is the particular one we have to come. So come here and let's take a state variable. So this is the one we have, but we haven't declared that. That's why we are getting this particular error. So that's a very easy fix. I hope you guys have noticed that. So let's take this use state, and we'll take this user details, and that's the only thing. It's going to be an object. So save it. Now we'll not have any issue. Come here, click on this. It's going to open the profile setting component. Looks good, no problem. Now we can come back here. Let's do the side by side and see how we are exactly working on the front end. So this looks fine, no problem here. This good. Now I can do one thing. Come back here, and like we can go into the network component, add network component. So before we go there, like this is what we have here. Like this is the add network component, and it's going to have the similar structure. So simply copy this one, entire JSX, and that's what we can simply paste here and change the just the variable. So simply change, paste here, and we have all this structure. Looks good. And now we have to simply change the variable type. So first thing, we have to change the name. This will be the setting. There it is. Now we have to change the input field and the name. So this looks fine. The bloat component is absolutely fine, don't need to do any changes, but we have to do the changes here in the name. Instead of network name, we have to go with the normal name of the user. Same thing we have to do into this on change function and the placeholder. So let's change this to, okay, let's come back here. This is the one. Let's change this to, so if already user updated the information, so we can display his information, otherwise we can say update. So we'll say user detail. If the data is already there, we can display their name, and we can simply pass the name. Do the same thing for the user name. If it's there, then we can display their called user name and change this to user name. Let's call this, so come here, if the data is there, then we can display, otherwise we can say update. Same thing for the username, update. Now let's change this to like wallet address. Change this one, user detail, we can say wallet address, otherwise update. Change this to user wallet address. Here we have to remove and we have to call it private key. This will be the private, we'll say user detail, not private key, and we'll have this update. Change this to private, copy and paste here, private key. That's good. And remove this to biography. Change this to biography, copy and paste here. And here we have to change the function name to save user, and this will say save profile. Looks pretty good, and we are done with this. Now make on the full screen and simply reload the page, and let's try to update the information. Click here. Now we can simply give the name Daulat Hussain, give the username, address, private key, and the biography. If I open the blockchain coder, you can come back to the courses. So this is the course which I have launched. Make sure to check this out. It will teach you every single thing which you have to know as a full stack blockchain developer. We have built one of the biggest project in that. So we have 100 plus videos. So make sure to paste that, and this looks good. Now I can come back here and let's convert it into a text area instead of input field. So we'll have a like big box for the biography. So this is the one. Let's convert that to text. Let's text area, let's save it. Now you can come back here and you can simply drag and make it big, pretty good, and paste here. If I save, you can see I'm getting this particular error message, means our data validation is also working fine, because I have not uploaded the image, and because of that I'm getting this error. So not a big deal, it's working absolutely fine. So simply reload the page. Now we can come back to the profile, go to the settings, and now let's simply update. I'll come here, I'll pick the image. So this is the one I want. It's uploading, and just wait, and finally it's uploaded successfully. Here we have the image. Let's provide all the detail. So Daulat Hussain, we'll have the username, Daulat, address, we'll have the private key, biography, and save. And profile is uploaded successfully. You can see all the data is changed, like in the header, in the profile, all the data is updated. So that's looks absolutely wonderful, pretty good. I hope you guys can appreciate that how things are coming together. Like everything looks fine. You can go back here and you can see the data is defined there. This is the profile, pricing, and this is the setting. Below the page, everything is working fine. You can open that and you can see the data is available in the input field and the profile. So that looks fine. Now the only two components we have left, that's the trading and the pricing. So we are done with this. No need to do too many things here. So looks pretty fine. Let's have a look. Now we can come back here and now we can work on the pricing before we start working on the trading and its functionality. So it's going to be mainly really related to the JSX. So we can simply make it side by side and start working on the JSX straight away. So let's make on the side by side, drag go to the pricing, close this one, drag on the right hand side, and let's work on it. So what we have to do is we're going to receive the prop because we need to have the buy function. So if I come back here, right now we haven't built the buy function, so just skip that for a moment. But let's give this object type because we have to import the buy membership function and we have to build that. So that looks good. Come back here, we'll take this class. It will have this tick web dash fn dash content. Inside that we'll take a div. It will have a class called tick web dash fn dash page. Inside that we'll take a div. It will have a class called tick web dash fn dash pricing page. Inside that we'll take a div. It will have a class called tick web dash fn dash pricing. Inside that we'll take a div. It will have a class called container. In that we'll take a div. It will have a class called pricing dash dash tabs. Inside that we'll take a div. It will have a class called pricing dash dash tab active. Inside that we'll take a div. It will have a class called fn dash dash mobile dash pricing. Inside that we'll take a div. It will have a class called pricing dash dash item dash header holder. There it is. Inside the div we'll take a class pricing dash dash item dash header. Inside that we'll take a h2. It will have a class, let's call it title. Inside that we'll say personal. We'll take this h3. It will have a class called price. In that we can take a span and we'll take this $10. It will have the month. So there it is, quite big. Let's come here, let's take a paragraph. It will have a class called description and we'll say bill yearly. So there it is. Now you have to do one more fix. So come here and take a div. It will have a class called pricing dash dash item. Simply cut this div and paste here. So that's the first thing you have to do. Now second thing you have to do is you have to provide this dash in the header and that will fix the issue. There it is, perfect. So that's the personal one, and we can take this break and we can display the information. So we'll take the span and we can display the other balance like $15 for the monthly. Pretty good. So this is the first personal one and we can display more information. We'll take a p tag. It will have a class, let's call it purchase. Inside that we can take this anchor and we can display the button for buying. So it will have an on click function and we have to simply attach the buying membership function here. So inside that we'll call it like buy personal. Save it and let's take a class and we can call this, so let's call tech wave. Okay, let's bring it in and wrap that one. There it is. So purchase and take wave fan button. So this looks pretty good. No problem. We have simply copy that one and that's the class we have to attach on the anchor. So paste here. There it is. Looks pretty good. So this is the button we have. Now we can simply come here out of the div. We'll take a div. It will have a class called pricing dash dash item dash dash heading. Inside that we'll take a h2. We'll take the class called title. It will have called main features. There it is. Now we can come out of the div. We'll take a div. It will have a class called pricing dash dash item dash list. Inside that we'll take the array. So this is the dummy information I'm displaying, but you can add as per your information. So I'll say crypto DH token, we'll say running bot, and we'll say Matty trading, and we'll have this any exchange trade and unlimited data. So this is the array we have. Now we have to simply render this. We'll take a map, it will have the item, it will have the index, and we have to make it instant return. So we'll take a div, it will have a class called pricing dash dash item dash list. Inside that, we'll take the h4, it will have a class called title. Inside that, we can display the item. There it is, you can see it's working absolutely fine. Then we'll take a p tag and it will have the description. So we'll say 20 and we can simply increase the number. So we'll say I plus 10. It's not I, it's index. So that's changes to index and there it is. Simply looks fine. You can see this is the first card component for our membership and we have to create 3 more. So this is the first one. We're done with this entire card. Let's have a look one more time. Are we missing anything? Come here. And now we have to build the second one. So come here. This is the first one. Let me call it first. And this is the second. Simply copy and paste here. And here we have to do this couple of changes. So like I can come here, take a div. Like after the pricing dash dash item dash holder, you have to take a div. It will have a class called popular. Inside that, we'll take a span. It will have this called most popular. There it is, looks beautiful. And that's the only thing we have to attach to make it most popular and change this text to premium. You can change the all of this data and this looks fine. So this is the second pricing component we have. Close this one. Now we have to take the third one and simply take the first one, copy first one and paste here. This is going to be quite similar. The only thing we have to do is to change the name. This will be enterprise. Copy, and that's what we can attach on the button. So this is the enterprise. Let's change as well for the premium one as well. So this one is the pricing. And looks fine. No need to do any changes. So I can come here to the and paste here premium. Looks good. So this is how it's going to look, our card component on the mobile device. Pretty beautiful. So let's call it mobile device. And as I told you that it's going to have 2 versions, one for the mobile and one for the desktop. So come here and let's build for the desktop. Next, we'll say desktop. Comment this one. Now we can come here and let's take a div. It will have a class. So we can check in the desktop mode. Let's expand this one. So that's how it's going to look. So this is how it's going to look. Let's expand a little bit. So right now we don't have anything because we have to build for the desktop. So let's call this pricing dash dash content. Inside that, we'll take a div. It will have a class called pricing dash dash header. Inside that, we'll take a div. It will have a class called item dash row. Inside that, we'll take a div. It will have a class called item dash call. It's going to be a block element. Then we'll take another div. It will have a class called item dash call. Inside that, we'll take this h2. It will have a class called title. And that will say personal. There it is. We'll come out of this h2 and we'll take a h3. It will have a class called price. In that, we can display the span and the price. We'll say 5 Medi. And we'll say monthly. Now we have the 3. We have the price for the monthly. Now we can take a p tag and we'll have a class called description. It will have a limited trading and looks good. No problem we have. Now we can simply come back. We'll have this break and we can take a span and we can display this additional pricing for the yearly plan, or you can call it monthly. So that looks fine. Now we can come here. We'll take a p. It will have a class called purchase. Inside that, we'll take an anchor and in that we'll have an on-click function. So on that we can simply attach the function for the buying the membership, and let's have a class called techweb-fan-button and let's assign this called buy personal. Let's make on the big screen and that's how it's going to look. You can see it's a beautiful design. That looks perfect. We have the card on the right hand side and we have the first personal one. Very good. Now we have to create 2 more. just like this. This is the personal one, no problem we have in it. So this looks good. Now what I'm going to do is come here, let's try to let's call this first and simply replicate this 2 times. Change this to 3, copy, paste, and here we have to make the changes. So let's come here and at the top, and we can take a div. It will have a class called popular, and we can say take this span and we'll say most popular. Save it. There it is. And you can change all the information as per the pricing. So this will be the premium. It's a premium. Now close this one, and what else we need to do the changes. So this is the buy premium. Copy and paste here. So this looks fine. Personal and premium. Close this one, copy the first one and paste here. Remove this enterprise and copy this one and paste here. So that's the enterprise component. So this is the cart component, which looks absolutely perfect and 100% responsive for mobile devices. You can see looks absolutely beautiful. So we're done with this. Now we can display the what are the features they will get. So we're done with this card. Now we can simply come here. This is what we have. Simply okay, good. Or let me have a look. This is the first section. Simply get this portion. So simply copy this too, and that's what we can paste here. And we have to do a couple of minor changes. So we can come back here. So here we have to change this to pricing heading, and this class is going to be span instead of h2, and here we have to take a div. It will have a item. Simply cut that one, and that's what we have to paste here. So that's the div. Now we can come here, we'll take a div. It will have a class called item wide. Then we can come back here, and that's the pricing we have. We'll take this item list, we'll say filled, and I can simply remove because I want to display more data. So change this one, we'll say item row. We'll take a div. It will have a class called item dash call. Inside that we'll take a span. It will have a class called heading dash text. Inside that we'll display the item. So that's the first set of data we have. Simply copy, and we have to replicate a couple of times. So you can display multiple data, but I'm going with the simple approach. So here, instead of displaying the data, I can display the number. I can simply increase the number by 1, or if you have any specific service which you want to provide, you can give that information. So that looks fine, and that's the only thing we have to do here. So this looks good. That's the entire pricing component we have. I hope you guys have followed me that what exactly we have done. Here you can see it looks absolutely beautiful. So we got the pricing, all of these components are coming together beautifully. This is the component, and you can see it's 100% responsive for all the devices. So it looks wonderful. Close that one, come here, check all of the things. Looks pretty good. You can simply double click and you can select the network. It's getting updated in the header and all the places, including the local storage and all the component which you are taking. Now we have to work on the trading. So simply close this one. Now we have the final component which is left, and we have to build the functionality. So looks good. So this is the one which we're going to work now. So come back here in the context, and now before we actually start working on the component, let's work on the functions: buy, sell, and trading. That's are the things we have to work on. So let's start with the very first one, the buying one. But before we start working on the buy one, let's get the Uniswap ABIs and the addresses of the contract which is deployed on the text network. So simply copy this one instead of import. Let's go with the simple approach. So copy paste here, simply remove, close all of this, and simply format this and remove this export, and let's take it as a function and a variable. So that's what we have here. Now we can simply call this in the functions. So looks good to me. Now we can receive couple of things, because in this buy function we have to receive couple of data. When the condition will fulfill, we have to send all of this data, and then the buying token function will call and it will make the purchase of the token. So let's receive the data. So we have to receive the token address 1, token address 2. Make sure the order is very important. So this is the order which we are following to get the data, the exact order we have to follow when we have to pass the data into the function. Then we have to provide the fee, address, by amount. Then we have to pass the router. That's all we're going to receive. Now we can come back here. First thing, we have to get the deadline, because that's what we have to pass, and that's what the Unisub contract will take. So we call this math.flow. In that we have to pass the date.now, and we have to simply convert that. So we'll say 1000. We'll add this 6. So this is the simple conversion we are doing. Now we'll take a variable called transaction, and we have to take the router. So that's router, Unisub router we are using, and on that we have to simply call this particular function called exact input single, and in that we have to simply pass the data. So we have to pass the data like in form of array. So first is going to be the token address 1. Make sure the order is very important. Then token address 2. Then we have to assign the fee. Then we have to assign the user address. Then we have to assign the deadline, and then the buy amount, and this 0, the tick. And then we can simply send the buy amount as a form of value. And that's the only thing you have to pass in the transaction, exact input single. Once the transaction will complete successfully, we have to wait for the transaction to be completed on the blockchain, and then we can simply console log out the transaction hash, and that's what we can simply store in the local storage and display in the front end. So it will say return, and we have to return the transaction hash, and that's the only thing we have to do for buying the token. It's quite simple. That's the simple function where we are calling the router, we are passing all the information and making the transaction possible for buying token. Now we have to work on the sell token. So click on here. In that we need a lot of things. So again, we have to receive the data. So we need to receive the token address 1, 2. We need the fee. We need the user address, by amount, and we need the router. We need the sell amount, and we need the account. So these are the things we need. Now we have to get the token. So we'll take a variable called, let's say, token, and we already have the token, the API. This is the one we have to call, and in that we have to pass the provider and the address. So let's call this account is the provider, and we have to pass the address to of the token. And that way we'll have the entire object of the token, which we can use it. So let's come here. Let's check for allowance, because that's how our function is going to work. First is going to check the allowance, whether that particular token has allowance or not. If doesn't have allowance, it's going to request for the allowance, then it's going to make the transaction. So allowance is very important to check. So let's check for the allowance. We'll take await token dot allowance. In that we have to pass the information. We have to pass the user address, and we have to pass the router address. In that way we can easily able to check the allowance. Then we have to simply console log out the allowance, that how much allowance is there. So we'll say current allowance is going to be the allowance. Then we have to build a condition. We'll say allowance is there. We'll say if allowance is less than the sell amount, means whatever the token allowance is there, if it's less than the sell amount, then we have to call the allowance function. So let's build that function. So we'll say const console, we'll say approving spending, and in that we can say bulk approve in production. That's the simple message. You can display anything that approving allowance. So let's change this to console. That's the message we're going to print, and then we can simply build the function. We'll say transaction await token dot approve. In that we have to pass the data. We have to pass the router address, and we have to pass the sell amount which we want to approve. Then we have to wait for the transaction to be complete. Wait, and once the transaction is getting completed, then we have to simply go next. Then we can simply come here. We'll take a variable called deadline, and it will have this math dot floor. We have to build the same condition which we have built in the buy one. So 1000 plus 6000. Once we have the deadline, this deadline is totally up to you, but make sure to always give this particular range because this one is more compatible and most of the contract just work around the same deadline timing to be on the safer side. Now we can take this transaction and we'll say await router dot, and we have to call this particular function exact input single. In that we have to simply pass the data in form of array. So we have to pass the token 2, token 1, then we have to pass the fee, we have to pass the user address, deadline, cell amount, 0 0, the tick, and it's going to make the call and we have to wait for the transaction to be completed. So we'll say transaction awaits. So this is what we are calling, and we have to simply console log out the transaction hash, and we can simply return at the end after a successful of buying. So we'll say transaction dot hash. It's going to give us the hash of the transaction. So it looks pretty impressive. Looks good, no issue we have. This is the sell function we have, and now we have to work on the trading function. This is going to be a quite huge. So this is the trading function. Now what I'm going to do is first we have to receive the data. We receive the active network and we're going to receive the trade token, and all of these two data is going to become as a form of object. So it will have all of this information about the network, including the RPC URL, API key in this active network, and this trade token. So once we have these two information, now we have to simply deconstruct that. So once we have this two information, we have to simply set the loading state to true, so it will display the loader. So we already have here, you can see that's already we have here. Now we can simply first get the web3 provider. So let's build the connection. So we'll take this provider, we'll use this new ether dot JSON RPC, and this particular provider we have already here in the network. So we'll take this dynamic just template literal, and we'll take this active network to be the RPC URL, and we have to provide the API key. So we'll come here, we'll take the second one is the active network dash API key. So this is the one we have built. In that way we'll have our provider. Now we can come back here, let's take a variable called wallet because we have to generate the wallet, and we are not using any MetaMask or any third web provider to make the transaction. So let's build the wallet. So we already have the private key of the user, so I can call this ether.wallet, and then I can pass the private key. So I can take this x0x and I can provide the private key, so which is available in the active network private key. So it's a private key. So in that way we'll have the wallet. Now we can come back here, we'll take a variable called buy amount, and we have to do the conversion before we actually pass the amount. So here we have this ether, we'll say parse utils. In that we can simply pass the trade amount. So we'll say trade token, in that we have the buy amount, that when they're going to buy, what the buy amount is set by the user, and we have to convert it into ether. So this is the buy amount. Now we have to take the target amount which the user have set when he or she wants to sell his token. So we're going to take this big int, and in that we can simply pass the target price which user have set. Okay, once we got the buy amount, target price, and here I'm saying target exchange rate, then we can take this target amount out which we want. So we already have the buy amount, we can simply multiply, and we can multiply with the target price. So we'll get the target amount out, and here we can take this sell amount, so when they want to sell it. So that's a very easy, we take this buy amount and we can divide by the target price. So we are setting up the pricing. You can go with multiple pricing, but make sure to do the conversion exactly the way we have done, because we have used the big int and you have to make the conversion of the amount in the ether. So those are all the conversion very necessary. Now we can come here, we'll take the account, and this account we are getting from the wallet. So we already have that wallet dot connect, and we have to provide from which we have to connect. We have the provider, and that's what we're going to simply pass it. So in that way we can easily able to make the connection with the particular wallet and the provider. So once we have that, now we can come back here. We'll take the token and we have to simply call the function we have built, and that we have to pass all the relevant information. So we'll pass the account and the token, trade token address to. Then we have to pass the router, in that we have to pass the provider. Then we have to take the quoter, and in that we have to simply pass the provider, so account. So we got all of this. Now we can come back here. We have to check for the price, that what is the current price which is going on, and based on that we have to decide that which function we have to call. So let's check the price of the token. So we'll take this amount out. We have to say await. We have the quoter. On that we have to simply call the quote exchange input single, and we have to simply pass a couple of information. So we can come back quote exchange input, and that we have to pass the trade token address 1, and we have to pass the token address 2. Then we have to pass the fee. So we'll say trade token dot fee. We have to convert into a number. Then we have to pass the amount by amount and the 0, the tick. This will give us the price. So this is the amount we are displaying. So this will give us the output amount, and here I can display the output amount which I will get. The price is getting right now, the output amount. And now let me check that what the price I have set. So simply replicate it and change this to like current exchange rate. So this is the current exchange rate. We have to convert it into a string, and here we have to simply, and here we have to provide it. Replicate that, and this will be the target exchange rate, and we already have the target amount out. Pretty good. Now we can come back here, and first is going to check the condition, and will give you the what is the amount right now and what is your target, and based on that we're going to simply make the transaction. So let's come here. Let's take a variable called transaction hash, and this is the variable which we're going to update, because every time a transaction will take place, means buying or selling, we'll get the hash of that particular transaction, and that's what we have to store here in this particular one. So let's take a variable. Now we can build a condition. We'll say if amount out is less than the target amount out, then we have to simply call the buy function. Means whatever our amount which we are targeting, if it's less than that, then we have to simply call the buy function. So we'll say transaction hash, because the buy function is going to return the hash, so that's why I've called transaction hash above, and I call this buy amount, and let's send all the data. So make sure I have to send the data in the exact order the way I'm receiving. So this is called, let's say, token 1. Then we have to replicate it and change this to 2. Let's remove that, and this will be fee, convert into a number, and remove this one. This will be the wallet address. Then we have the buy amount, then we have the router, and that's the only thing we have to do here. We have to do exactly the same thing for the cell as well. So we'll come here, we'll take a address, user address, and that's what we are getting from the, let's say, active network.wallet. In that the user address is there, so we are getting the address from there as well. Now we have to build the condition for the cell. So if amount out is greater than the target amount, we can simply call the cell function. So we have to do exactly the same thing. We'll say cell token, and in that we have to simply pass all this information. This is the function we are calling. So copy, paste here. Let's send the prop. So we have the address of the 2 tokens and the fee, and change this to fee, convert it into a number. Then we have to pass the user address, we have to pass the buy amount, we have to pass the router, sell amount, and we have to pass the account. So all of this data we are passing, and now we can come back here. So like this is first we have taken the provider, then we have get the wallet, then we have set the pricing, the buy amount, target price, target output, and sell amount. That's all we have perfectly set up. Then we have the account, then we have taken this quarter, the React contract, then we have this particular checking for the price, that what is the current price of the exchange of the two token. Then we are simply console log out there, and here we are making the transaction based on the price of the current token, based on the price of the token right now. Now we can come back here. Now we have to simply store this data whenever the successful transaction will take place into our local storage, so we can display in the front end. So we're going to take this, we'll say storing data. We're going to take this called live transaction. It's going to be a kind of object. So in that we're going to store three data. So we'll take the current rate. So we already have the data available, amount output, we have to convert it into a string. And now we have to display the target amount, what is the current rate and what is the target. To target amount output, change this to target rate, and we can display the transaction hash. So we already have that's coming from above, transaction hash. So these are the data we're going to store in our local storage. Now let's build the condition. We'll say let transaction array, the same logic we have followed above, the same thing we have to do here. So let me do it very quickly. So I'll first check for the data which is already available or not. So we'll say transaction list transaction, we have to get the data from the local storage. We'll say live dash transaction. Now if we have the length, so copy and paste. If we have the length, then we have to do this. We'll say transaction array, we'll say json.parse local storage.get item, and we have to get this live transaction. So it will give us the data. Once we have the data, we have to simply push the data in the array. So we'll say transaction array dot push, and as the name suggests, this is what we have to push in that array. So this list live transaction, that's what we have to push, copy, and that's what we have to push in the array. Now we have to simply set the data to the local storage, local storage dot set item to this. So this is the exact logic we have followed, and we have to simply convert this to JSON stringify to transaction array. Else we can simply do this. So we can simply copy this portion and paste here, the same old logic we have followed above. So simply copy, and that's what we can paste here. This is fine. So in that way we can store the data in the local storage, and now we can simply set the, let's say set the couple of variable. So like we'll have this set trading count is going to be on based on the length of the array. So we'll take this transaction array plus 1, because it will start from 0. So set trading count is like, now we have to simply console log out the entire array of the transaction. Now at the end we can simply turn this to false, and that's the only thing we have to do in this huge function. So make sure to keep it as it is, the way I have written. Try to recheck all the spelling, all the variables, all the price conversion we have done, because these are the very important things which you have to do to make the transaction. So make sure to go with the exact one, then you can build your own strategy on top of this. So that also looks fine. We are storing all of this information, and then we can simply rendering. So we are done with this entire feature of making the transaction. Now let's try to export the data. So we can export the transaction count, length, and we can simply export the, what else we have, this trading count, and we have the loader. So things are looking pretty good, and the last one is the loader, set loader and loader. So these are the information we are exporting, and the rest would be fine. Now we can come back to the index, and we can simply come down all the way. We can simply copy this one, and that's what we can simply receive in our context, because we need all of this function. So we need all of this function, paste here, and now we have to send some of the function in our trading component. So we have x's, let's send this trading, then we have to send this to trading count, and we have to send this length, Then we have to set this start trading count to be set trading count. Then we have this set active component, and that's all we are setting. Simply copy all of this, and that's what we can receive here. So simply take this object, and that's where we can simply pass it. So paste here and replace this one. We don't need this. Simply replace this one, replace, replace, replace this one, and change this one, and save it. This looks fine. So these are the props we are receiving. Now we have to receive the hooks, use state, use effect. Come here, we have to import the icon. So that's coming from React icon /fa6. Then we have to import. What else we can import? Let's come back here. We need this notification. Simply copy and send that as a prop. Let's receive that. And let's receive the success one. Good. Now we're done with that. Let's do the internal import. We can say this is coming from our utils. So we have to build that particular function, sort address, which we build shortly. Now what we can do, things are looking pretty good. Looks fine. Now we can start working on the features. So come back here. We'll take a state variable and we can call this active network. It's going to be an object. Then we'll take another state variable, and that we can call this token. Then we'll take another one. This will call trade token. It's going to be an object. We'll take another state variable, and this will call active. By default, it will be false. Then we'll take another one. This will be called live transaction, and then we're going to store all the transaction from the local storage. It's going to be an array. So we can come back here. We'll take another one. This will call user membership. So we have to check the membership before we allow them to make the transaction and use our bot. And we can come here. We'll build a call trade frequency. So this is the time which I'm going to assign for my trade. So I would recommend you to go with maximum 1 hour. It's not good idea to make the trade every minute or every 3 minutes. It's better to set the trade timing for half an hour or to 1 hour. So I'll set the trade frequency is going to be like this particular 1 minute. I'll set just for showing you. But if I go with 1 minute, my transaction will fail because the transaction takes time to complete on the blockchains. But for the demo purpose, I'm going to go with this one. But later I'm going to change this trade frequency. Now we can come here, we'll take a use hook, and we have to get all this information from the local storage. So first thing, we have to get the token list. We'll say JSON parse local storage get item, and we have to get this set tokens. We have the tokens. Now we have to replicate this, change this to active network. Now replicate this one, and we have to get the, let's say, token pair. Then we have to get the, let's call this user membership. So these are the data we are getting. Simply remove this one because this user membership is just a string, not an object. Now change this variable type is going to be active. This will be the token pair, and this one is the user. So these are the data we have. Now we have to simply update to our state variable. So we'll take this set user memberships to user. Then we can come back here, set, we'll say active network to active. Then we'll say set token to token list. Then we can say set trade token to token pair. So in that way, we'll have all the data about from our local storage to our like trading. So if I reload, if I come back to the trading, and this looks fine, no problem we have in here. So we have all of this data from our local storage. Let's come back here, and we'll take a user effect. In that we have to build a condition. So we'll say if active is true, then we have to call our trade function. So we'll say if it's true, then we can take a variable called your function, and it's going to be a normal callback function. So in that we have to simply call our trading function, and we have to simply pass the data, the active network and the token pair, trade pair, means trade token pair, and we can simply notify the success message to be like transaction completed. Okay, let's bring it back and let's wrap this into a string. Transaction completed, dot dot dot. So, and we can simply console log out the, let's say, function call for the time being every 1 minute, or you can call it second. So this is the function we have. Now we can come back here and we're going to simply use this one interval id, and we have to simply call this, let's say, set interval, and in that we can pass, and we can simply pass the trade frequency, the timing we have set for the function to be called. Now looks good. Now we can come back here, we can simply return the clear interval after the successful call, and we're going to simply call this whenever there is a active state. So that's what we have to call it. Looks good. For the time being, I'm going to comment this function because we are just working on the feature. So when we test, then I'm going to simply call the function, so I don't exhaust my entire font which I have in that particular wallet. And it's not going to make the transaction because we haven't provided the details, and it's going to throw an error. So for the time being, just comment that. Now come here. Now we'll take another use effect. In that we have to do one thing, simply copy this one, and that's what we can simply call it. And let's change this to, what else we have this live transaction, because we have to display the transaction which is taking place and render the data in the front end. Let's set this data to the state variable. We'll say live transaction. So all the transaction object which is coming from the local storage is going to be set in the array, and is we going to simply render that. So we can simply call this to trading count, because whenever the transaction will take, this number will go up. So that's why we have provided that. So trading count, and I can say length. Simple. Now we can come back here. We'll take a variable called stop trading. So once the user will click, it will get activated, and user can simply click this button to stop the trading. So it's not going to call. So we can come back here and we'll say set active false, and by default is going to be false. But here we're going to change the condition, and we're going to simply call the function. So this is the function which simply turn the active to false. So let's build another function called select token pair, and it's going to be the normal one. So like we'll take this local storage dot set item, and that we can take this token pair, and once we have that, we have to simply convert that, stringify, pass the token trade, and it's going to be simply stored in our local storage. So that looks pretty fine. And now we have to work on the JSX. So let's make it side by side so we can see what exactly we are working on. Let's bring it here, and let's come back to the trading. We are here. Now let's work on the JSX. So first thing, we have to take a class called techweb-fn-content. There it is. Inside the div, we'll take a div. It will have a class called techweb-fn-page. Inside that, we'll take a div. It will have a class called techweb-fn-user-profile page. Inside that, we'll take a div. It will have a class called techweb-fn-page title. Inside that, we'll take h2. It will have the class called title, and we'll have the trading crypto. There it is. Now we can come back here. We'll take it will have a class called container small. Inside that, we'll take a div. It will have a class called techweb-fn-user profile. Inside that, we'll take a div. It will have a class called user-profile. Inside that, we'll take a div. It will have a class called user-avatar, and inside that, we'll take an image, and we'll display the image. So we'll display this active dot network image. If we don't have the image, we can display the logo. There it is. So we already have the active image, so that's why we're displaying that, because we have selected the Ethereum for the now as an active network. Then we'll take a div. It will have a class called user details new hide. Inside that, we'll take the ul, inside that we'll take a li, and we'll have a div. It will have a class called item. Inside that, we'll take a h4 and we'll have our information. We'll say, let's say subtitle will be the network. Inside that, we'll take a h3. It will have a class called title, and we'll have the active network. There it is. Network name. Otherwise, we'll say select network. Select. Make on the big screen, reload the page. If I come back to the trading, there it is. Looks pretty good. Now let's make it side by side. Let's bring it here. Let's drag it here. Now let's create the second one. So this is the first. Let's simply copy, paste here, and we can display the address. This will be the wallet address. So that's the second one we have. Now what else we have to change? So this is the one we have. Simply take this. If active network wallet address is equal to undefined, then we can say select. Otherwise we can display the active network wallet address. So simple condition we have built. Now we can simply take this span. It will have an on-click function, and on the on-click function will allow the user to copy the address of the wallet. So we'll pass the wallet address. There it is. And inside the span we can display the icon. So we'll take this FAREG copy. Simply close that one, and that's the icon we have. Okay, we haven't imported that, so let me import the icon. There it is. Let's come here, reload the page, and there we have the address and the network. Let's bring it here. So we have the address. Close that one, simply copy, paste here, and we have to change this to private key. And this will be the same. Replace all the address to the private key. So that's look good. Now copy and paste here and change this to like RPC URL, and change all of this to RPC URL. So user can click and they can copy the URL starting point. Copy and paste here, and here we're going to display. Let's bring it back. We don't need to display that. Looks good. So that's the entire data for the network. Now we have to work on the token trade token pair. So we'll take a div. It will have a class called user dash dash plan. Inside that we'll take a div. It will have a class plan dash left. Inside that we'll take a h4. It will have a class called subtitle. In that we'll say token a. We'll take this info, and that we have to display the token, first token address or name. You can display that. Simply replicate that for the 4 times, and this will be the token b. Change this to 2, and this will be the fee. Change this to fee, and this will be our network, and change this to network. So there it is. We have all of the data. So this is displaying that this is the network user have selected, and this is the token pair he or she has selected, so they can make the trade. Now we can come back here. We'll take a div. It will have a class. Let's take a div. Inside the div we'll have a dynamic block. So we'll say if user membership is not equal to not member, then we can allow user to simply use our trading bot. So we can simply allow them to call the function. Otherwise we don't allow them to call it. So let's build this particular one. We'll take this fragment, remove that one. Inside that we'll take a conditioning block. We'll say if active is true, and then we can simply take this anchor. It will have an on-click function, and we have to simply call the function we have built, stop trading. If it's true, okay, if it's true, then we have to call this stop trading. So we'll say take a class. It will have a tech web dash fn dash button. and we'll say stop bot if it's true. But if it's not true, means it's false, then we have to simply do in other way. Simply copy and paste here, and here we have to simply change the state. So instead of calling this particular function, we can say create trading, or you can say start trading, and we can change this to, let's say, trading, and we can simply call this active network. We have to pass that object, and we can simply pass the trade token pair, because that's what we are receiving in our function. So that's one, and now we have to simply call, and then we have to call this set active to true. I hope you guys can understand the logic, that what exactly we are doing. So make sure to do this. Looks pretty fine. This is the first condition we have. Else we can tell the user to buy the membership. So simply copy this portion, and that's what we can simply render here. Here we can say that buy membership, and here we can simply redirect the user to the pricing section. So in that we can say pricing. So the user can click and it will go to the pricing section, and they can take the membership. So that's also working fine. So we are done with the basic one. Now we have to simply display the live transaction which is taking place. So that's pretty easy. So what we can do is, so we are done with this. Now all the logic looks good. Now we can come back here, and we can simply start working on the component. So we'll take a div. It will have a class called tech fn pricing. Inside that we'll take a div. It will have a class called container. In that we'll take a div. It will have a class called pricing dash tab. Inside that inside this we'll take let's say div. It will have a class called pricing dash tab and active. Inside that we'll take the mobile view and the desktop view. So let's work on the mobile view. We'll say if live transaction equal to null, means there is no transaction, then we don't want to display anything. Otherwise we have to display the transaction component. So what logic I have follow? If there is no live transaction, means display nothing. Otherwise we have to display that. So let's take a class. It will have this fn dash mobile dash pricing. Inside that we'll take a div. It will have a class called pricing dash item. Inside that we'll take a div. It will have a class called pricing dash item dash holder. Inside that we'll take a div. It will have a class called pricing dash item dash heading. Inside that we'll take h2. It will have a class called title, and we'll display this live transaction dot. So this is not displaying. Okay, so because we don't have any transaction, that's why it's not displaying. But I can do something. So right now it's not displaying because we don't have any transaction. You can see all the things are looking fine, but the transaction is not displaying. So what I can do, let's make it side by side, and you can see I'm getting this infinite running. Okay, something's wrong happened. So let's come back here. Let's have a look one more time. There is no problem in here. Like we have all of this empty array. Looks pretty fine. Let's comment that. Okay, still it's happening. So let's bring it back. Let's comment this one. No, so this is also working fine. What else? Something's wrong. If I comment this, still it's keep going on. So this particular error is maybe happening in the header section. So let's bring it back. Let's go to the header. So this is the header component, and here we have to provide this. So let's provide that and save it, and that will fix the issue. You can see right now it's not working. So it was rendering infinite time. So that's why we are having that issue. Looks good. Now we can come back here. Let's make on the little big screen. That looks pretty good. Beautiful. Now we can come back here, and I'm going to turn this around. So come back here in the trading, and right now we don't have any transaction, but we want to display this particular component. So let's do one thing. Let's change this to, so we have to make a couple of changes. First you have to provide this space dash tab. That's the one change, and here you have to say like false. Just give this exclamation mark. This will turn around, and here we have that component with which is visible, and now we can simply design that. Looks good. Now we can come here. We'll take a dynamic block, and we'll have an array live transaction, and we have to simply render that. So we'll say transaction index, it's going to be an instant return. Then we'll take a div. Let's close the div. It will have a key index. It will have a class called pricing dash dash item dash list. Inside the div, it will have a class called pricing dash dash item dash list dash item. Inside the div will have a h4. It will have a class called title. Inside that we can display the index plus one, means the one transaction, and then we can say target amount. So this is what we're going to render, the target amount and what the amount we have achieved. So this is the target amount we're going to render. Target, okay, so let's give this, remove that, and now it's working fine. So target amount, what is the target amount? Now we can come here, we'll take a paragraph. It will have a class called dis. Inside that we're going to display the target amount, the current amount. Simply copy and paste here, and we have the current amount. So it will display the first, it will display the target amount, then we'll have a current amount, paste here. So here we have what we have called, it's a current amount, current rate, sorry. So target rate and current rate. Now we have to display the transaction hash. So I can come back here. So these are the two data only I'm going to display on the mover device, but on the desktop device I'm going to display the entire data. So let's come back to the other one. So we'll say that if live transaction equal to none, then display nothing, otherwise we have to display our transaction. So we'll take a div. It will have a class called pricing dash dash content. It will have a class called pricing dash dash heading. Inside the div will have a class called item. Inside that we'll take a span. It will have a class called title. We'll say live transaction. There it is. Now we can come back here. We'll take a div. It will have a class called item wide, and come out of the div. We'll take a dynamic block. We'll say if live transaction, means there is a transaction, then we have to simply render that. So the same thing which we have done above. So as a transaction index, it's going to be an instant return. We'll take a div, and it will have a class. It will have a key index. Let's assign a class called pricing dash filled. Inside that we'll take a class called new dash flex. Inside that we'll take a div. It will have a class called item dash call. In that we have to display the span, and it will have a class called heading dash text. Inside that we'll display the index, the ID, and we'll say target amount, and we'll display the amount, transaction dot transaction dot target rate. So target rate, that's the first one. Now we have to get the second one. So this is what I have. Simply copy this one and paste here, and all we have to do is to change the change this one. It's going to be called option text, and this will be, we'll call it current amount, and change this to current rate. So that looks good. Now this one is the optional text, and that one is the heading one. Now simply copy this one, and we have to display the transaction hash. So what I can simply change this to hash, and we can say come back here and copy this one, transaction hash, and paste here, and that looks good, and it will display the transaction hash. Looks fine. Let's have an on-click function, so user can click and they can copy the address of the transaction. So transaction hash. So we can say transaction copy and paste here. So user can copy. After clicking on that, then we can simply display our copy icon. Good. And that's the only thing we have to do. This looks pretty beautiful. Let's make on the big screen. So let me take you through this, that what we have done. So we're going to build this particular functionality. So we have received this prop, we have taken this state variable, and we have the first function, the hook, which allows to give us all the information about the network and the token pairs, and we have the trade frequency. Then we have this function which allows to set. Then we have this particular function which we're going to call it for making the trade, passing all the details. Then we have all of this, looks good. We have this one, beautiful. And this is good. This is the desktop, and this one is the mobile device. Let's come back to the browser. Let's make on the, see, beautiful. We can simply go to the different components. This is the trading, and here we have, you can double click and you can select the network. Right now we have taken this 2 pair of the token. You can upload. This is the pricing. Now we have done with all the component. Now it's time to test the network, and let's find out the bug. So if I click, I can select, and all the things are looking fine. Beautiful. You can click and you can select the network and reload the page, and things are looking good. You can search, you can see, looks good to me. Now we can come back here. The only thing I want to cover in this video. In the next video, we're going to test every single feature we have built with the real data, and we're going to have a lot of fun. So let's move to the next video.